Hello everyone, and thanks for watching another episode of The Other 99. This week we have another viewer-submitted deck from Tomo999, featuring a tax prison deck commanded by Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. When you look at her, you think, why not Grand Arbiter Augustin IV? Well, there are two reasons. She doesn't get as hated out, and is cheaper to cast. 2 mana is not only less than most generals, it is less than most other spells in the format. As an added bonus, she has First Strike, making her decent in combat. As you might have guessed, Thalia is one of the many tax effects in the deck. So here is the rest of the IRS. Glowrider and Thorn of Amethyst. Why stop at 1 Thalia when you can have 3? Lodestone Golem is a tax on non-artifact spells that comes attached to a 5/3 body. Exiled Doomsayer is a silver bullet against problem cards like Achroma Angel of Fury, Bane of the Living, and Vesuvian Shapeshifter. Defense Grid. You don't get to interact with the stack, so why should anyone else? Spell Tithe Enforcer. This elephant gives your opponents an alternative cost to paying extra mana, which may start to sound tempting with a few tax effects on the board. Just don't play him if you have an opponent waiting for a sack outlet. Isolation Cell. This deck runs a lot of non-creature taxing, but it needs a little bit of creature taxing too. Losing 2 life isn't that big of a deal early on, but in the late game, it can make a big difference. Aura of Silence. This is 2 cards in 1, taxing your opponent's artifacts and enchantments, and then blowing them up if the need arises. Kismet and Loxodon Gatekeeper. Having problem permanents come into play tapped keeps the game slow and safe for you. Chancellor of the Annex. A big body that taxes all of your opponent's spells, and only theirs. Slowing down their first few turns is always a bonus. You have spells that make your opponent's spells more expensive, but there are a few spells in the deck that make your spells cheaper. Herald of War. This will make most of the creatures in the deck cheaper, and can become a very big body if there aren't any flying blockers around. Razor Golem. Even with the tax effects that may affect you, Razor Golem can easily cost 0. Plus, he has Vigilance. Semblance Anvil. Allows you to cheapen all of the many enchantments in your deck. Pearl Medallion. Making white spells cost 1 cheaper can be key, especially after the second or third time you cast your general. Fluctuator. Since this deck runs the Runes of Protection, this card makes the cycling of those cards cost you nothing. Since you don't have very many tax effects for creatures, you'll need quite a bit of removal spells instead. Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares, Reciprocate, Soul Snare, Journey to Nowhere, Oblivion Ring, Fiend Hunter, Brittle Effigy, Mangara of Corondor, and Dispatch are all spot removal. World Queller can help keep the board from becoming too crowded. Martyr's Bond, an eye for an eye. You won't mind losing a permanent as long as your opponent does too. Karmic Justice. This card will make your opponents think twice about blowing up your tax effects. If spot removal isn't enough, this deck packs a few sweepers to help you out. Nevinyrral's Disc, Magus of the Disc, Mass Calcify, and Achroma's Vengeance. This deck can harm itself a lot with the tax effects, so to help cover your tax, you need Ramp. White Ramp is rare, but is like a sucker punch if you use it right. Soul Ring, Gift of Estates, Tithe, and Land Tax. All of these cards get you mana when you need them. Weathered Wayfarer can fetch up any land you need, including Emeria and Maze of Ith. Eternal Dragon. Its plain cycling fetches you lands, but then can return to get you more lands or some beats. Oath of Lieges. In certain situations, it gets you the lands you need, and it can work as a political card, keeping your opponents happy so they don't all gang up on you. You will make a lot of enemies with all those tax effects, and you'll need something to fend them off. Ghostly Prison. No Pillow Fort suite is complete without the best attack taxer in white. Windborn Muse, a ghostly prison on a 2/3 flying creature. Norn's Annex, a ghostly prison that protects your planeswalker, with the option to pay life instead of mana. Elspeth Knight Errant, pops out a chump blocker every turn. This deck uses all Runes of Protection to help you prevent damage. The runes can also be used to cycle, so if you don't need a particular rune at the moment, cycle it for a new card. This includes Rune of Protection Artifacts, Rune of Protection Black, Rune of Protection Blue, Rune of Protection Green, Rune of Protection Red, Rune of Protection White, and Rune of Protection Lands. The rest of the cards in this deck help keep the deck running smoothly. Mana Tithe. Not as useful in the late game, but stopping someone's turn 1 Soul Ring is too fun to pass up. Sensei's Divining Top, the classic. Yosei the Morning Star. This deck is not built to abuse him, but he can still beat face and then shut someone down for a turn. Rings of Brighthearth. Gives you extra mileage out of cards like Weathered Wayfarer and Elspeth. Debt of Loyalty. Can save your own creatures or take someone else's. Take that, Gilded Drake. Avacyn, Angel of Hope. She's big, she's mean, and gives your opponents headaches. And at last, the lands. Emeria the Skyruin. In a deck that runs 34 planes, this is easy to get online. Vesuva, a second Emeria, or a way to take care of someone's Gaia's Cradle. Ghost Town. Allows you to stay ahead on land drops until you need to be behind to activate cards like Gift of Estates. Maze of Ith. This is a land that stops creatures in their tracks. Drifting Meadow. Its colorless cycling can be reduced by Fluctuator. Mistvale Plains. A plains that does extra duty by recycling your key cards. Windbrisk Heights. To cheat in some stuff. And 34 plains. And now for the strengths and weaknesses of the deck. Its strengths. It has a general that doesn't automatically get hated out, but still impacts spells that are cast. The deck runs plenty of tax effects that slow down everybody else's game plans. It has tons of removal in target and in mass. Its weaknesses. It has little card draw. Most of those are cycling effects. It can sometimes make its own spells cost too much. It's weak to very aggressive decks if you don't get a card to stop the damage. You should play this deck if you like making people pay extra mana for their spells, you enjoy fooling people into what your game plan actually is, you want to keep other players from killing you right off the bat, you want to play a fun deck that runs powerful spells. Thanks for watching this episode of The Other 99. If you want to build a tax deck that avoids a lot of the hate that taxing decks receive, you may want to give this build a try. Thanks to Tomo999 for sharing his deck with us. For next time, I'm going to give you, the audience, the power to vote for which deck you want to see next from 3 choices. Child of Alara, Intet the Dreamer, or Ashling the Pilgrim. You can vote for which deck you would like to see next in the comment section, on Twitter, and on Facebook. I'll count all votes until Friday when voting closes. I hope to hear from all of you. This is Cars from Top Go Productions, and as always, thanks for watching.